Sometimes keep in mind with your pictures, sometimes there's cases this is just how it is, and that's okay. But just always try your best to get that where we need it to be for the customer. I'll make it a little blue. See, we're getting close there. I'm going to turn my brush down and just try to get some of these edges that I can see I didn't get. There we go. That looks much better. Because I'm looking at my walls and they looked blue whenever I compared it to this photo. Now they look the same. So I just wanted to work on that a little bit. Also, what I'm going to do with this picture, I'm just going to turn my highlights down a little more, maybe some exposure, just a little more. So that's a little better. Still, we had a warm light in that room. That's one of those cases, this is how it looked, and that happens. So just go ahead and keep that in mind. So next, we're coming to our steps, a little bright. Just gonna actually work with my highlights. Sometimes when it's a little bright, if you just work with your contrast and your clarity, that brings it back where it needs to be. Because see how we have that light coming through that window? That's kind of the look I go for with real estate pictures. All right, just see how easy that is. Here's our room. I mean, pretty much if you try to shoot them with correct exposure, you're not going to have to do a lot in post. These two rooms were beside each other, so I'm going to sync that. So what I'm doing when I'm syncing, I'm clicking on the photo I edited, hit my shift key, and click on the photo that I want to apply that color tone to, and I hit sync. And what we want to have check mark here is our white balance, basic tone, tone curve, clarity, sharpening, treatment, color, split tone, local adjustments, noise reduction, and effects. If you hit synchronize, that's going to apply that effect to the next photo. That way you're not manually going in and editing another photo, which is a big time saver. Not sure if I'm going to use this one. This one was a tight spot and it was hard to work with this mirror. I have a couple more, but I'm going to go ahead and edit this in case I decide that I do want to use it. I wasn't sure, so I left it. I just kind of left it in the mix. Because remember, if you have something in the mix and you decide later on you don't want to use that, you always can. So what I did here is my clarity and contrast went up. I turned my highlights down. Next, I'm going to come to the detail tab and do a little noise reduction. I'm not going to bother with constrain crop here because it looks pretty good. So if we see my next photos, two photos, they are in that same restroom. I'm going to go ahead and sync those photos together. I'm check marked on the photo that I just edited. I'm going to hit shift and select the next two photos and hit sync, and we're going to apply that color tone. So as you can see here, I got two pretty good shots of the restroom. So I'm going to take this photo out. Reason being, the less work in Photoshop, the better, and the quicker you can get the photos to the real estate agent. Real estate agents don't want to wait a week. With my real estate agents, I have the pictures. It's a rule in our studio. The pictures must be to the real estate agent within 24 hours. So guess what? I'm going to mark that right out. And then I'm just going to do a spot check on this. The sync was great, but this is a little too dark because I was coming from a different angle. This is just a little too bright, so I'm going to turn it down. All right, and next we have our master bedroom. We're in the same area. It was right off there. I'm just going to sync that photo. Okay, so here, if it's just a little too warm, I'm going to turn it down, and then I'm also going to play with my histogram there. And now in some cases you're going to have one histogram to one side a little more just because of the fact that you do have some light coming through the window. This is the walk-in closet. I'm just going to pull that adjustment up, clarity and contrast, and then it looks a little orange, so I'm going to bring that down. And I'll tell you, not too many realtors will put a picture of the walk-in closet on the listing because they're kind of limited, but I always take it just in case they want it. I'd rather have too many photos than not enough. So we're coming back to our main hallway. I'm just going to adjust my exposure and white balance and clarity and contrast. And hit my noise reduction. And I think I forgot to do noise reduction on the previous photo, so let me go back and grab that. It's not really going to make much of a huge difference because well, actually it will. My ISO was on 1600. Let me take that back. So I do want to do a little noise reduction. Okay. And when I say a little, let me go back down and talk about that a little bit. You don't want to bring your noise reduction clear up to 100. Keep it down in the, 20, 30s, right kind of along this edge. If you do too much noise reduction, your picture is going to the edges of things might kind of like run together. So just kind of keep that in mind. So you just want a slight noise reduction. All right, and there we go. Back downstairs to this very lovely home. See how easy that is? Actually, I'm going to adjust that a little bit. There we go. All right, so we have some more photos I can sync. I'm going to select the photo I just edited. Hit Shift. And select the next row of photos because it's all in one spot. And I'm going to hit Sync. But let me show you. I have a photo of the deck. We don't want that synced. I'm just going to hit Reset. And just kind of play with that a little bit. I'm going to crop in a little bit on this one. I'm going to my crop and straighten tool just because what I want to show off here is the kitchen. We had a little too much floor. It's always better to take your photos at a wider angle than you need so you can crop in. So as you can see, we have the dining and kitchen area here. Okay, here we had some space on these steps, so I'm going to crop in and get that out of there. What I was wanting to focus on here was our living area that we have right there. A little too bright, so we're just going to bring that down a little bit. And let me check my noise reduction. I can tell by looking at it that I forgot to do it, so I'm just going to go hit that noise reduction a little bit. Alright, so this is the lovely staircase going up into the home. Here I'm going to use my constrain crop. I think it's going to straighten a little bit. I'm not liking how that looks, so I'm going to hit Edit Undo. Bought it too close, so I'm just going to try to straighten myself. There we go. See how when we straighten ourselves, we might be able to retain a little bit more of the picture. These two photos were right beside each other. I'm just going to sync them together to avoid doing an entire another edit. Okay, there we go. This was our bedroom downstairs. So I'm just going to pull that up. A little orange, so I'm going to pull my white balance down and do my clarity and contrast. I'm checking my histogram. This looks a little dark to me. There we go. This was a restroom that was right beside there. Everything's pretty good except that white balance. It looks just a little off. And I think it just had an orange light in it. You know, keep in mind, sometimes it just is what it is. And I'm going to hit my noise reduction. I'm going to go back to my first photo. I'm not remembering that noise reduction today, but let's get that down as well. This is a stairwell going down the home. I have my noise reduction up. I'm going to go ahead and get that. This was shot pretty much perfect, so I'm just going to turn up clarity and contrast. All right, this is the outside of the home because the real estate agent asked me to focus on the fact that there is a deck in the back with nothing behind it. So I went around the back and I took a photo. But what I'm doing here is using my crop and straighten tool, just trying to get that in with just this particular home. I'm going to turn up some clarity and contrast. Remember when I said we had a nice blue sky that day? I'm going to come back to my brush tool. It's already clicked on temperature. I'm just going to try to add some of that blueness back. See how we did that? There we go. Close. Then I'm going to come down to the detail panel, do a little noise reduction. This one I'm just going to add a slight vignette to try to bring that blue out. Okay. And I'm going to sync the two photos at the end. Actually, I'm not going to give this photo. I like the first photo better. So I'm just going to click an X on that. Alright guys, you can see there we have all of our real estate photos done. Next I'm going to show you how to name them and export them. So I'm scrolling down to our real estate collection set to remember the address. I'm going to come up to the Lightroom options and hit Edit, Select All. And I'm going to come to the Library module. And I'm going to, So if you do that, if you just find this arrow at the right hand side, that's going to bring back your library module. Okay. So what I'm doing now, I'm going to change the file name. I always name it the name of the realtor. Dash, and then the address. And I'm sorry I forgot that address. Let me go back down for that. Remember, I use the name of the address because if they look at a file and they're like, which home is that? They'll have the address attached right to that. So you're going to type that in, start with number 1 and click OK. Then I always put that in the title as well. And then I change my metadata to, should have a real estate here. We have another video that goes over in-depth detail about metadata that you could refer to. So now we have all of our photos renamed and ready to export for the real estate agent. And the next thing I'm going to do is export the photos out for the real estate agent. So for export, I'm going to come down and click export under the left-hand side. I'm going to name that folder the same name as the file. So first I'm going to export a high-resolution file. If they want to do any printing or graphic, they'll have a high-resolution file to do that. So just make sure your quality is up to 100 and don't resize anything and hit export. Next thing I do is I export a web resolution photo for them to make their job a little bit easier. So I'm just going to name this web, optimized for webbed. I'm going to bring my quality down to about 25. And I'm going to resize it to 1080 by 1080. Now the reason we're doing this is they don't want to upload high resolution files to their site because that's going to slow their site down. We just want to resize them what they need to be for the web, and we want to compress that quality a little bit just to help them have their site run faster. And I'm going to click export here. And those will take just a few minutes. Okay, so we have our photos exported. The next step I'm going to do is show you how I get the files to the real estate agent. So I have exported the files. I'm going to come over here to the folder that I exported those to. So this is our external drive. I have them separated by year. Everybody has their own filing system. And, I have another video explaining how we file things so you can easily find them. So I'm in my folder where I've exported the photos at. Bear with me while it comes up. Okay, so if we see date modified, if you just click on that, that's a real easy way to get the photos that you just exported up to the top. So I'm going to click on both of those and I'm going to right click and hit copy. I send things to my real estate agents by Dropbox. So I'm going to come to Dropbox and I'm going to find the folder that I use to send them their photos. And I'm going to click edit and paste. Now see how we made 2 folders there? I don't want to send her 2 folders to download. So I'm just going to make a new folder. And I'm going to drop those right into that. Oh, I guess we need to rename it something else. So let me do that. I don't want to compromise anything. I'm just going to name it her name. Oops, sorry. So I'm going to come up to the file option and do File, New Folder. What was happening, it was conflicting each other because I already had something named that. I'm just going to drag those 2 folders in there. Then I'm going to click on the folder. And if I do right click and copy Dropbox link, that's the link I'm going to use. I'm going to paste that right into an email and they're going to be able to download the real estate photos right to their computer. And that's it. That's how we edit a photo session from start to finish in our studio for real estate photos.